What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to discuss the UAW strike and give you the latest and greatest on what's going on. The UAW and automakers GM, Ford, and Stellantis try to reach a deal before strike widens. This is an article that's out of Reuters, and I will post the article in the description box. This is by David Shepardson and Ben Clayman. This came out September 18th at 9:30 in the morning. So take a listen and let's see where we're at. The United Auto Workers and Chrysler parent Stellantis are set to resume bargaining talks Monday morning as a strike against the Detroit 3 automakers enters its fourth day. Union negotiators and representatives of General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis held talks over the weekend in an attempt to end one of the most ambitious U.S. industrial labor actions in decades. The coordinated strike, which has seen the union strike at all three automakers simultaneously for the first time, comes at a time when approval of labor unions among Americans is at its highest point in decades, even as membership in unions has fallen for years and recently remains largely unchanged. About 12,700 UAW workers are on strike as part of a labor action targeting 3 U.S. assembly plants, one at each of the Detroit 3, after the prior 4-year labor agreements expired. Analysts and industry executives question how long it will be before the UAW strikes at additional plants in a move to raise pressure on the automakers. UAW President Shawn Fain told NPR Monday there were minimal conversations over the weekend, so the ball is in their court and we have a long way to go. He said the UAW is ready to do what was necessary when asked whether it would extend the strike to another plant this week. The strikes have halted production at plants in Michigan, Ohio, and Missouri that produce the Ford Bronco, Jeep Wrangler, and Chevrolet Colorado, alongside other popular models. A number of high-profile lawmakers have visited picket lines in support of the UAW, including House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries on Sunday in Michigan. Analysts expect plants that build more profitable pickup trucks like the Ford's F-150 or GM's Chevy Silverado and Stellantis' Ram to be the next strike targets if the walkout continues. Shares of BlueScope Steel slipped to an over 3-month low as the strike weighs on its North American business. The Australian steel maker generates nearly 42% of its fiscal 2023 sales revenue from North America. The three automakers have proposed 20% raises over the 4.5-year term of their proposed deals, though that is only half of what the UAW is demanding through 2027. The UAW at one point during the talks offered to lower its demand to 36%. Besides higher wages, the UAW is also demanding shorter work weeks, restoration of defined benefit pensions, and stronger job security as automakers make the shift to electric vehicles. They're also demanding the elimination of tiers, as in people doing the same work but getting paid at largely different rates. The tiered system is a bane on society. We need to get rid of the tiered system. Auto workers strike at the 3 plants. That's your reporting out of Reuters. Now, something that's interesting that's happening is that the news is asking Trump and Biden, what do they think about these strikes? It's interesting to note the difference in perspective. So I want to give you Trump's answer to that question, and let's see if you agree with his take.
Let's talk about the economy. And I want to start by talking about this big standoff between the auto workers and the big 3 auto manufacturers. Yeah. My question for you, Mr. President, whose side are you on in this?
I'm on the side of making our country great. The auto workers are not going to have any jobs when you come right down to it, because if you take a look at what they're doing with electric cars are going to be made in China. The auto workers are not going to have any. I'll tell you what, the auto workers are being sold down the river by their leadership, and their leadership should endorse Trump. The reason is, you got to have choice. Like in school, I want school choice. I also want choice for cars. If somebody wants gasoline, if somebody wants all electric, they can do whatever they want. But they're destroying the consumer, and they're destroying the auto workers. The auto workers will not have any jobs, Kristen, because all of these cars are going to be made in China. The electric cars automatically are going to be made in China.
So let's talk about UAW's leadership. The president, Sean Fain, has withheld his endorsement of President Biden, but this is what he had to say about you. Quote, another Donald Trump presidency would be a disaster. How would you win that endorsement?
Well, if that's the case, I probably won't win his. I don't know the gentleman, but I know his name very well. And I think he's not doing a good job in representing his union, because he's not going to have a union in 3 years from now. Those jobs are all going to be gone because all of those electric cars are going to be made in China.
Did you hear how he spoke about it? Did you hear him talking about how they're not going to have any jobs? This is fear-mongering 101. This is the typical corporate guy, that type of person. Typical. Now, let's take a listen and see if there's a difference that we can spot between how that Republican Trump spoke about the UAW strike, where he said the union was wrong and the union president was leading his members down the wrong path, and the union was doing it ill-advised, and the union was bad, and the union was bad. We heard that. Now let's see what Biden would have to say about it.
I respect workers' right to use their options under the collective bargaining system, and I understand the workers' frustration. Over generations, auto workers sacrificed so much to keep the industry alive and strong, especially through the economic crisis and the pandemic. Workers deserve a fair share of the benefits they help create for an enterprise. I do appreciate that the parties have been working around the clock. And when I first called them at the very first day of their negotiations, I said, please stay at the table as long as you can to try to work this out. And they've been around the clock, and the companies have made some significant offers. But I believe they should go further to ensure record corporate profits, meaning record contracts for the UAW. I'm going to say that again. Record corporate profits, which they have, should be shared by record contracts for the UAW. I respect workers' right to use their options.
Record corporate profits should become record contracts for their union members that help to create the record profits. He is using the same framing that the union is using, and he is a president of the United States being outspoken in favor of labor. This is a moment in history that harkens back to 70 years ago when we had pro-union presidents that actually passed legislation that was pro-union. It harkens back to that era. Make no mistake. These two parties are not the same. And no, Democrats ain't perfect. But at the end of the day, at least that party that's represented by blue is doing something for people that work for a living, like me and like you. And that's something we got to consider. Y'all keep it in mind, the fight's not left and right, it's up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one, get out there and reach one. And remember, there could be no union without you and I front and center. Let's get it.